Hello and welcome to the Victoria Rooms. I'm Sarah Hibbard, Head of Department, and very excited to be here for our first live-streamed concert. We're particularly delighted to welcome old friends of the department, baritone Andrew Shaw and pianist Christopher Northam. Andrew was a Bristol student and regularly performs here at the Victoria Rooms with Christopher. They'll be presenting a programme of opera excerpts featuring some of Andrew's favourite comic roles. I hope you enjoy the concert.
I'm sure that there could never be a more contented man than me. I earn my living as I please. I charm the birds from off the trees. I set my net against the sky. I call the birds and down they fly. So when you hear my music play, you'll know that I'm not far away. If only I could cast a spell to capture pretty girls as well, my net would get them by the score. Each day I'd catch 100 more. And soon I would fulfill my dream, 1,000 girls in my harem. If I achieved my heart's desire, I'd hang my net up and retire. A 1,000 maidens might be fun, but I'd have to set my heart on one. I'd choose the girl I liked the best. I'd take her home to share my nest. We'd bill and coo, we'd hug and kiss, and every night I'd play her this. I'd keep her safe, the pretty thing, and she would sleep beneath my wing. Papageno, the bird catcher from Mozart's The Magic Flute, sung there in an English translation by Jeremy Sams. Of course, the original Papageno, Emanuel Schikaneder, was singing his own German text. He wrote the entire text for The Magic Flute, as well as singing Papageno. He was the most popular theatrical entertainer in Vienna at the time. He was a comedian, a singer, actor, and he played the part of Papageno at the age of 40. And he really knew his audience. In fact, he knew a lot of them rather more intimately than might have been expected. He had quite a reputation with the ladies. So I always think it's quite charming to imagine when he came on stage that first night in Vienna and started singing about how he wanted to recruit a harem of 1,000 women. I'd have loved to have felt the frisson of nudges and knowing winks going around the audience. He certainly knew how to work his audience, as indeed does our next character, Dulcamara. Dulcamara in Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore, the elixir of love. Now, Dulcamara is a quack doctor. He's a trickster, a huckster. He spends his time going around in his horse and carriage, getting into little communities. Just imagine those hilltop towns in Tuscany back in the 19th century, very quiet, cut off, rather isolated, a small, innocent, possibly naive little community. And into town rides Dr. Dulcamara to sell a load of bottles of cheap plonk, which he is peddling as an absolute medical cure for any complaint at all. So he arrives in the town, and they've never seen such quite an exotic-looking creature. Udite, udite, o rustici, attenti, non fiatate. Io già suppongo e immagino che al par di me sappiate che io sono quel gran medico, dottore enciclopedico, chiamato Dulcamara, la cui virtù preclara e i portenti infiniti sono noti all'universo e in altri siti. Now, let's face it, the first requirement for any salesman is to be able to speak in the same language as his audience, or he's not going to get anywhere. So let's transpose this Italian 19th century setting to somewhere like the American Midwest in the 1930s, 40s. Again, very quiet, isolated, rural community. The sort of community that after you've been driving hundreds of miles down the highway, you suddenly come across this little community consisting of not much more than a gas station and a diner. And in Kelly Rourke's American translation, it transforms into something like this. Attention, attention, you working folk, come listen, gather round now. You know, you must know, of course you do. My great repute precedes me, a famous first-rate pharmacist, a salutary specialist, with lots of tonics for ya. My name is Dulcamara, unbelievably famous in states and territories and some other places. Philanthropist and pharmacist, but generous and gifted. In every town I visited, I helped the sick and twisted. The cure for all occasions is the medicine I have got. Come buy from me, it will not cost a lot. Come buy from me, don't wait until you rot. Come buy from me, it will not cost a lot. The gum disease or lumpy tongue, a sweet and this will cure you. The problems of the follicles, a little dabble do you. The finest laboratories have given their approval for universal usage. Oh, my friend, I have a lot. This miracle of medicine will make you rich, will make you thin. The shy it will embolden and turn grey hair to golden. You want an aphrodisiac, then take a healthy shot. Yet even aging geezers will be feeling pretty hot. You wanna feel terrific, you wanna be prolific, a most effective stimulant, and I have got a lot. You ladies of a certain age, whose appetites are flagging, my tonic will rejuvenate and also tighten sagging. Your pores are just enormous, your figure flat and formless. You reek of halitosis, then take a couple of doses. Just try the sovereign remedy which I alone have got. It will not cost a lot. it will not cost a lot. For pimply adolescents, for manics and depressives, I've got the cure for everyone. It will not cost a lot. It banishes bacteria, neuroses and hysteria, the gas in your interior, diphtheria, listeria, demeted of the inner ear, cirrhosis and amnesia. And if you feel inferior, one will perk you up. My tonic is superior for treatment of hysteria, diphtheria, listeria, and oversized posterior. I've got the cure for everyone, you widows, wives, and workers, ambitious men and shirkers. My friends, I have the lot. Come step right up, don't hesitate. Come step right up, don't hesitate. Come by the sovereign remedy, which I alone on. Come on, it will not cost a lot. Roll up, it will not cost a lot. I swear it will not cost a lot. You're decent working people, and I know you what you're spending. Come on, tell me, what you reckon is the price that I'm asking? $100? No. 50? Wrong. 20 in sincere appreciation of the welcome you have shown me. I declare for one day only, just one day, a special offer. Oh, my friend, you are in luck. Here it is, a fine elixir with 1,000 applications. Though in 47 states I sell each bottle for 100. You're in luck, 'cause I'm a local, born right here with all you yokels. So because this is my hometown, I will bring the price way low down. You like it? Just $1, who will buy some? Change a life, come on, just try some. But the bargain price of just $1 you can have a week's supply. But the bargain price of just $1 you can have a week's supply. You can have a week's supply. My suffering neighbors and delight to do them good. Oh, I love my suffering neighbors and delight to do them good, to do them good, to do them good, to do them. Well, I'll tell you something. There's one person who wouldn't have been fooled by any of that, and that's our next character. Sir John Falstaff, Shakespeare's Sir John Falstaff, who became the subject of Verdi's last opera. And Falstaff, he's the Knight of the Garter. He's got such a proud history, and yet here he is, lodging in the Garter Inn at Windsor, absolutely penniless. His henchmen, Bardolph and Pistol, who are supposed to keep him in money, are not serving him properly at all. He's run up the most tremendous bar tab, and he's desperate, absolutely desperate for cash. But he's come up with a scheme. There are some very wealthy people living in Windsor, and two rather attractive married ladies, both of whom he felt he saw them smiling at him a few days ago in the street on separate occasions. So this set him thinking, I should make some sort of alliance with them. So he sent them both a love letter, one each, but an identical love letter. One to Alice Ford, one to Meg Page, both married to very wealthy merchants. And I think Falstaff just feels that if he gets in with them, he might just be able to benefit from all their wealth. So he's written these love letters, and he calls upon Pistol and Bardolph to take them, to act as love's messenger and deliver the letters for him. Well, they are petrified at the idea of doing anything so foolhardy and dangerous, knowing the sort of men that those husbands are. These people don't want to get involved at all. Falstaff says, "Look, what? You're not going to do it? Can you give me any reason?" And for want of anything better to say, they say, "Well, it's a matter of our honour." Honour? Falstaff can't believe what he's hearing, as if these two ruffians have any idea at all of what honour means. So he's going to give them a lecture on honour. Now, this is a wonderful opportunity for Verdi, who has basically used the Merry Wives of Windsor as the framework for his opera. This is a wonderful opportunity to take the famous honour monologue from the other play that Falstaff appears in, Henry IV. Henry IV. Quite a different play, and quite a different context. In the Henry play, Falstaff is considering the battle, the very important military battle, which is going to ensue the next day. And he's trying to justify why he shouldn't be part of it. He has no wish to be part of the battle, so he's just going through a little catechism with himself. And this is what he has to say. "Well, 'tis no matter. Honour pricks me on. Yea, but how if honour pricks me off when I come on? How then? Can honour set to a leg? No. Or an arm, or take away the grief of a wound? No. Honour hath no skill in surgery then? No. What is honour? A word. What is in that word, honour? What is that honour? Air. Trim reckoning. Who hath it? He that died a Wednesday. Doth he fear it? No. Doth he hear it? No. 'Tis insensible then, yea, to the dead. But will it not live with the living? No. Why? Detraction will not suffer it. Therefore, I'll none of it. That's the speech that Verdi lifts from Henry IV, Part 1, into this moment with Bardolph and Pistol. So let's return to the moment in the scene where the two of them have flatly refused to do Falstaff's bidding. He's got to get these letters off. The only thing to do is to call for his page Robin and instruct him to take them instead. Hey, Robin! You two go hang yourselves, but not on me. To let us take them to these two ladies. Run up like lightning, quickly, go, quickly, go, quickly, go, 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 go! Vermin. You are repented by your honor. You stink of pure hypocrisy when you both know full well you'll have human failings. We all do. Yes, I do. Sometimes I choose to wander, risking the wrath of heaven, and and find myself astray without my order. My stratagem is being equivocal, enigmatic, and elusive. But you sing it vermin with your offensive, twisted and cat-like glances, and ghastly sneering laughter, candles of honor indeed, what honor, what honor, what honor, what honor, what humbug! For l'onore riempirvi la pancia. No. For l'onore rimettervi uno stinco. Non può. Né un piede, no. Né un dito, no. Né un capello, no. L'onor non è chirurgo, che dunque una parola. Che c'è in questa parola? C'è dell'aria che vola, bel strutto. L'onore lo può sentir chi è morto? No. Vive sol coi vivi? Neppure. Perché a torto lo gonfian le lusinghe, lo corrompe l'orgoglio, l'amor le calunnie. E per me non ne vogliono, non ne vogliono, no, no. But getting back to you villains, I've had enough now. I'll go without you. Get out, quickly, quickly, and the double, and the double. It's the rope that will suit you the best. Quickly, 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 and the double, and the double. Villains, 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 out you go, out you go, out you go, out you go. But lo and behold, he gets a reply from Alice Ford saying yes. Do please come and visit. He also gets one from Meg, but, take one at a time. So he goes along, and in fact, Alice and Meg are now in cahoots. This is just going to be a big trick to bring him down and make him look a complete fool. So he goes along for what he thinks is going to be this easy seduction scene. The whole thing turns into one huge, dramatic nightmare. Alice's husband arrives back unexpectedly. The house is turned upside down, trying to find this culprit Falstaff, who has been hidden in the laundry basket. And at the end of the scene, the basket is tipped through the window. He falls out with all the dirty washing down into the water of the Thames. And the next time we see him is when he's dredging himself up onto the banks of the Thames, having drifted all the way down, and he finds himself at the Garter Inn, and he drags himself up to the bench outside the inn. And we'll just remind ourselves of what Shakespeare has him saying in The Merry Wives of Windsor. Have I lived to be carried in a basket, like a barrow of butcher's offal, and to be thrown in the Thames? Well, if I be served such another trick, I'll have my brains taken out and buttered and given to a dog for a New Year's gift. The rogues slighted me into the river with as little remorse as they would have drowned a blind bitch's puppies, 15 in the litter. And you may know by my sighs that I have a kind of alacrity in sinking. If the bottom were as deep as hell, I would down. I had been drowned, but that the shore was shelvy and shallow, a death that I abhor. For the water swells a man. And what a thing should I have been when I had been swelled? I should have been a mountain of money. Okay, let's hear how Verdi has captured the utter despair and the very depths of his feelings at this moment. You can hear it in the music, how the low, dark tones of the low string instruments are downward turning all the time. His phrases become more and more isolated until, in the end, they almost sort of just disappear altogether. And you begin to wonder whether this actually is the end of Falstaff and whether he can ever go on to do anything else. But then, the pint of wine arrives, and this wonderful transformation of the music now, as he soaks in the beneficial effects of the wine. And you can hear in the music, you can hear the wine percolating throughout his body and bringing new life, new warmth back to this huge frame. And then the most wonderful thing of all, when Falstaff says, "Oh, it sets off a little trill, like a cricket chirruping in the brain." And at that moment, in the orchestra, the second flute begins a sustained trill, which is then picked up by the first and third flutes and the rest of the wind section, and then it spreads to the strings desk by desk until, as it builds up and his life becomes restored again, the whole orchestra is trilling with such abandon that I tell you, it's an absolute joy to be sitting on the stage at that moment and to feel the whole stage vibrating with the energy of this new life. Okay, so listen out for those things. I'm going to bring myself from the edge of the Thames now, dripping wet, absolutely soaking, to take my position on the bench. You'll hear the drips in the music as we start. Villainous world, vile world. Landlord, bring me a pint of hot claret. To think that after years of adventure and nights so bold and so distinguished should find himself trussed up inside a hamper to be swathed in foul linen while silly women titter and flung into the river like some mongrous litter. Without this mighty belly I never would have floated. I would have perished. Brutal ending, brutal Evil world, where is virtue now? Your world is crumbling. Good Sir John, go, you must continue. Keep stumbling towards your tombstone. Oh, when you die, shall die all the manhood in creation. Oh, what a day of violence. Heaven help me now. I'm far too fat. I am growing old. Pour a pint of wine into all that river water. To drink good wine and take one's ease in the sunshine. Sweet employment, for good wine distills all the happy vapors of our depression, brightens the eye, sharpens the wit. From the mouth it flies to the brain, and there wakes a little demon cricket to its trilling. Its first vibration brings us exhilaration, trilling with heart and soul. The air about us thrills with expectation, till with mad elation the thrill drops and thrills progression. Now I'm going to have my breakfast, or at least not my breakfast. Dr. Bartolo is going to have his breakfast. I'll tell you what's happened. Oh, there's been absolute coincidentally, that translation was by Amanda Holden. But there's been absolute chaos in and arguments in the Bartolo household this morning. You see, Bartolo is the guardian of young Rosina. And he is fiercely protective over her. She can't stand it. She just wants to be out of the house. She finds it so suffocating. And he's such a meticulous pedant. She can't bear it. But he's desperately jealous to hold on to her. He's always on the lookout, just in case she's been trying to make contact with some of the many young men who hang around outside the house. And in fact, what's happened is, this morning, she has actually written a letter to a young man who's been serenading beneath her balcony. And she's passed this letter out to him. And Bartolo, ever suspicious, has noticed this morning, quite early on, that she's got ink on her finger. Why is that ink on your finger? And she says, oh, I burned my finger. I had to use the nearest thing. I stuck my finger in the ink to bathe it. Well, he says, in that case, why is the pen inky? Oh, she says, oh, no, I was sketching some flowers for my embroidery. But, he says, there's one sheet of writing paper missing. He knows, you see. He knows exactly how many sheets of paper there should be there, and there's one missing. And she says, well, I wrapped some sweets in it for Marcellina. That's the last straw, as far as Bartolo is concerned. She's not going to tell him the truth. He knows that. All he can do is become increasingly angry. She becomes increasingly sullen and is not going to say anything. But it's breakfast time, and this is a house of meticulous routine, and when breakfast happens, it has to happen. So here we are. Bartolo's favourite prunes, boiled egg, toast, a kipper for Rosina, who this morning has no interest in it. She's certainly not going to start fiddling about with all those terrible bones. It's bad enough at the best of times, but not on a morning like today. However, Bartolo is determined to proceed with the day as if nothing had happened, whilst trying to keep himself as calm as possible. And she knows that as long as she just sits there not saying anything, looking sullen, that'll wind him up even more. Dare you offer such excuses to an eminent physician? Dare you offer such excuses to an eminent physician? From a girl in your position, I expected better lies. I expected something better. From a girl in your position, I expected better lies. I expected something better. From a girl in your position, I expected somewhat better lies. From a girl in your position, I expected better lies. You offer such excuses to an eminent physician. From a girl in your position, I expected better lies. I expected better lies. I expected better light. Sending sweets to Marcellina, sketching flowers to embroider. Burnt your finger, what nonsense, what nonsense. You must find a taller story, or I'll cut you down to size. You must find me something taller. You must find a taller story, or I'll cut you down to size. Taller, 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 taller. I can sense there's something brewing. I'll find out what you've been doing. Don't deny you wrote a letter. You should really know me better. Hold your tongue, you can't placate me. Hold your tongue, you can't placate me at all. My dear girl, don't underrate me. Boy, you're in for a big surprise, yes, yes. My dear girl, don't underrate me. Boy, you're in for a big surprise. Do you offer some excuses to an eminent physician? From a girl in your position, I expected better lies. I expected better lies. I expected better lies. Come, Rosina, don't be stubborn. And I promise I won't be vexed. Pretty villain, still so solemn. Pretty villain, still so sullen, then I know what I'll do next. Then I know what I'll do next. In the future when I leave you, say that you are guarded. In the future when I leave you, say that you are guarded till the cemetery God knows and how to rest. In the future when I leave you, say that you are guarded. In the future when I leave you, say that you are guarded till the cemetery God knows and how to rest. Do not try to win me over with the crying inside, with the crying inside. Now the penitent line, now the penitent line, come be bothered, come be bothered, come be bothered, your guest. For my innocent Rosina, now it's solitary confinement. Do not try to win me over with the crying inside. Now the penitent line, come be bothered, your guest. For me innocent Rosina, for me innocent Rosina, now it's solitary confinement, now it's solitary confinement. You shall be satisfied, you shall be satisfied, you shall be satisfied, now it's yours. Till you show me some refinement, I will teach you who knows me. You shall be satisfied, you shall be satisfied, you shall be satisfied, now teach you. In the future when I leave you, see that you are guarded. In the future when I leave you, see that you are guarded till the cemetery garden hours and hours arrest. In the future when I leave you, see that you are guarded. In the future when I leave you, see that you are guarded till the cemetery garden hours and hours arrest. Do not try to win me over with the crying in his eye, with the crying, with the crying, with the crying in his eye. Now the penitent line, now the penitent line, come be bothered, come be bothered, come be bothered, your guest. Now the penitent line, come be bothered, your guest. For my innocent Rosina, now it's solitary confinement. Do not try to win me over when you're crying in his eye. Now the penitent line, come be bothered, your guest. For my innocent Rosina, for my innocent Rosina, now it's solitary confinement, now it's solitary confinement. You shall be satisfied, you shall be satisfied, you shall be satisfied. I will teach you honors best. If you offer such excuses, then you're in for a big surprise, yes, yes. If you offer such excuses, then you're in for a big surprise. Oh, my innocent Rosina, now it's only confinement. Till you show me some refinement, I will teach you who knows best. 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 I will teach you, I will teach you who knows best. And after that, there's not much more that can be said, except to thank my wonderful pianist, Christopher Northam, and the ever delightful Rosina, otherwise known as Mrs. Shaw, just in case you were wondering. Now, before we finish, someone else just is very keen to share something with you. The Lord Chancellor from in Iolanthe, by Gilbert and Sullivan, is completely devastated by feelings of unrequited love. So much so that he's having nightmares about it. Love unrequited robs me of my rest. Love, hopeless love, my ardent soul encumbers. Love, nightmare-like, lies heavy on me chest, and weaves itself into my midnight slumbers. When you're lying awake with a dismal headache and repose is tabooed by anxiety, I conceive you may use any language you choose to indulge in without impropriety. For your brain is on fire, the bedclothes conspire of usual slumber to plunder you. First your counterpane goes and uncovers your toes, and your sheet slips demurely from under you. Then the blanketing tickles, you feel like mixed pickles, so terribly sharp is the pricking. And you're hot and you're cross and you tumble and toss till there's nothing twixt you and the ticking. Then the bedclothes all creep to the ground in a heap, and you pick them all up in a tangle. Next your pillow resigns and politely declines to remain at its usual angle. Well, you get some repose in the form of a doze with hot eyeballs and head ever aching, but your slumbering teems with such horrible dreams that you'd very much better be waking. For you dream you are crossing the channel and tossing about in a steamer from Harwich, which is something between a large bathing machine and a very small second-class carriage. And you're giving a treat, penny ice and cold meat, to a party of friends and relations. They're a ravenous horde, and they all come aboard at Sloane Square and South Kensington stations. And bound on that journey you find your attorney, who started that morning from Devon. He's a bit undersized, and you don't feel surprised when he tells you, I'm only 11. Well, you're driving like mad with this singular lad by the ship's now four-wheeler, and you're playing round games, and he calls you bad names when you tell him that ties pay the dealer. But this you can't stand, so you throw up your hand, you'll find that it's cold as an icicle. In your shirt and your socks, the black silk go cops, crossing Salisbury Plain on a bicycle. And here the crew are on bicycles too, he's somehow or other invested in, and he's telling the tars of the particulars of a company he's interested in. It's a scheme of devices to get at low prices all goods from cough mixtures to cables, which tickle the sailors by treating retailers as though they were all vegetables. You'll get a good spadesman to plant a small tradesman to take off his boots with a blue tree, and his legs will take root and his fingers will shoot, and the blossom and bud like a fruit tree. From the greengrocer tree you get grapes and green pea, cauliflower, pineapple and cranberries, while the pasty would plant cherry brandy will plant apple puffs and corners and bamberries. The shares are a penny and ever so many are taken by Rothschild and Baring, and just as a few are allotted to you, you awake with a shudder despair. You're a regular wreck with a crick in your neck, and I wonder you store for your heads on the floor, and you've needles and pins from your soles. You pleasure to creep in your left leg to sleep. There's crap in your toes and a flying nose, the front of your lung with a feverish tongue, and a thirst and intent in a general sense. You haven't been sleeping in clover. But the darkness has passed, and it's daylight at last, and the night has been long. Ditto, ditto, my song. And thank goodness they're both of them over.